NBC News has declared the apparent winner in the Kentucky governor's race is Democrat Andy Beshear, upsetting and ousting incumbent Republican Governor Matt Bevin. Again, it's a very close race. You see there the difference of less than 7,000 votes.
Tonight, voters in Kentucky sent a message loud and clear for everyone to hear. It's a message that says our elections don't have to be about right versus left. They are still about right versus wrong.
The Republicans put Donald Trump on the ballot today in Kentucky, and the Republicans lost.
You got to vote, because if you lose, it sends a really bad message. It just sends a bad, and they will build it up. Here's the story. If you win, they're going to make it like ho-hum. And if you lose, they're going to say Trump suffered the greatest defeat in the history of the world. This was the greatest. You can't let that happen to me.
I mean, for context here, President Trump won Kentucky by 30 points in 2016. It was his fifth best state, after only West Virginia, Wyoming, Oklahoma, and North Dakota. He won it by 30 points tonight after he spent the eve of Election Day in Kentucky polling for the Republican candidate there. The Republican governor appears to have lost.
I think, to me, in addition to the high turnout, it's the story of the night. It's sort of an extension of the national story we have been telling. We certainly saw this in 2018 in the midterm elections, why the Democrats were able to get that net gain of 40 seats. The suburbs moving away from the party of Donald Trump towards the Democratic Party. Yes, that's a story in Kentucky as well, and it's a story right here. These three counties in northern Kentucky, you see them kind of jutting out right there. Those three counties actually make up about 10% of the population of the state of Kentucky.
Let's send a message to Washington, to the other states, to the United States of America that Kentucky is leading the way and that we support the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Turns out that all the other Republican candidates did quite well. They swept all the other statewide races. We have the first Republican Attorney General in 70 years right now. It was just Matt Bevin couldn't survive.
Why nationalize this race so much and talk about President Trump so much?
I don't know if do you watch the news? The fact that you ask why this is being nationalized and why people are talking about President Trump would indicate to me that you really have sort of maybe come out from under a rock.
But you don't have a vote on
impeachment about it or not.
I mean, we're talking about...
Is this a civics lesson now? You think I don't understand what the role is? Talk to the average person. Ask the next 100 people who come in here if they care about this impeachment process. And they will tell you, almost to a person, that they do, because they find it to be a charade. It's an absolute sham.
For anybody that had listened to him on the stump, or listened to his campaign speeches, or listened to the TV commercials here, it has been about Donald Trump, impeachment, and about Donald Trump. Essentially, he has tried to nationalize this race. Well, as you look at Andy Beshear, he talked about education, talked about health care, talked about pension reform and jobs. He went with that approach, essentially separating himself. There were no national Democrats that came here to the state to campaign for Andy Beshear.
If I were Mitch McConnell tonight, I'd be a little concerned. If you look at what Donald Trump did in 2016, winning by 30, you look at what happened tonight, you look at your opponent, Amy McGrath, having outraised you in the third quarter, 10.7 million to about 7 million. And you look at your numbers and how you're underwater, and they really look like Matt Bevin's numbers. I think Mitch McConnell's not having a very good night tonight. Donald Trump certainly isn't having a good night tonight.
What is tonight's lesson in Kentucky for Republican senators?
It's a very ominous lesson for Republicans, and not just about President Trump. President Trump is an unpopular president, but he's heading an unpopular agenda.
As your next governor, I will listen more than I talk. I will work with anyone who has a good idea that we can deliver for Kentuckians. With all the partisan bickering and nastiness that we're seeing in politics, we have an opportunity to do better right here in Kentucky.
Now let's head to Louisiana. CNN projects Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards has narrowly won re-election, beating out Eddie Rispone, a Republican businessman backed by the president.
CNN national correspondent Diane Gallagher is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, Diane, wondering what the reaction is there. And good morning.
Good morning, Christy. Victor. Yeah, so here's the thing. John Bel Edwards, a Democratic governor here in Louisiana, reelected. And I am looking at two different things here. When we spoke with voters yesterday, we started to notice this split. Those who were Trump voters who also were John Bel Edwards voters. I did ask a couple people how they kind of, how they were okay with the fact that the president had had 2 rallies in just the past 10 days at that time, trying to get the vote out for Eddie Rispone, and yet they were still voting for the Democrat. They simply said that Trump was wrong about Louisiana in that case. They still plan to vote for him in 2020, but he wasn't right in this case. Also, it's turnout. When you look at parishes, you look at New Orleans, the turnout just from the initial October primary until yesterday soared in places like New Orleans. The African-American vote, heavily African-American cities started to increase in that area. So perhaps Donald Trump's visits to Louisiana may have impacted the vote in a way that he didn't expect. And Edwards alluded to something like that in his victory speech.
Our shared love for Louisiana is always more important than the partisan differences that sometimes divide us. And as for the president, God bless his heart.
Yeah, you know, bless his heart, never quite the good thing when here in the South when you hear them say that. John Bel Edwards was a relatively popular governor anyway. I think people look at this and they see Republican versus Democrat. He is a very conservative Democrat, and a lot of the voters here did allude to the fact that he is, in their words, pro-gun, his views on abortion, and the fact that they believe that he's been working on getting the state's finances in order after the Jindal administration.
But Republican Tate Reeves has defeated Democrat Jim Hood to become Mississippi's next governor.
3 on your side's Ashley Garner joins us live this morning with more on the outcome. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Current Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves is now governor-elect here in the state of Mississippi after last night's election. He took away 52% of the vote over Democrat challenger Jim Hood. Last night, Reeves thanked his supporters who gathered at the Westin in Jackson. He also offered a thank you to the White House. President Donald Trump campaigned for him Friday at a rally in Tupelo, and Vice President Mike Pence campaigned with him Monday on the Gulf Coast. During his victory speech, he promised investments in education for both teachers and students and thanked the Mississippi voters for supporting him throughout his campaign.
It has been a long road, but it has been a good road. And I want you to know that I understand that this victory does not belong to me. This victory belongs to you.
Reeves also offered a job well done to his challenger Jim Hood and thanked him for his multiple years of public service. For now, reporting live in Jackson, Ashley Garner, 3 on your side.
Thanks, Ashley. President Trump reacted to Reeves' win on Twitter. He said, quote, "Congratulations to Tate Reeves on winning governor of the great state of Mississippi. Our big rally on Friday night moved the numbers from a tie to a big win. Great reaction under pressure, Tate." Governor Phil Bryant also responded, saying, "Congratulations to my friend and the 65th governor of the state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves. He'll do a great job leading the people of Mississippi, and I couldn't be more proud to pass this title on to our